I'm Margaret Ann Windsor, kidnapped in 41, age 2 years old, born in 39, and brought to Moulton, Alabama, near Huntsville, where the Space Center began. NASA. There was a point to saying this. I guess you can follow that. Anyway, I wanted to get to this morning. Um, Last night I was watching from 1 o'clock till 3. I was watching Coast to Coast with George Norrie. It used to be an Art Bell program. It started out, and he died some months ago now, about 4 months at least ago. And as far as I know, they have not released the cause of death. If they have, I haven't heard it. They have withheld it for a while. I know that. It's very sad because he was kind of an innovator in telling a lot of truths and things. And when I came here in 86, 87, one of the churches here, Rainbow Baptist Church, near the trail where I used to go up in the winter and freeze and starve, and it was rough. Anyway, they sent a book to me, Project Lucid by Tex Mars. And that's where they in it they said this is what you've been telling about, and I was telling about it in '76. Trying to tell about it before, but started writing about it, doing the book, which was never published because they almost killed me April Fool Day of '80. Anyway, if you care to get this, everyone should be concerned and interested in it. It's what I've been telling, but it on that program, the man actually participated, was in it, and has written a book, Blow Your Mind by Paul Davis. And he really knows what he's talking about. Let's see if I can get back to this. He mentioned some of this. It was odd. I was just thinking about Tom, what's his name? Oh gosh, don't let me forget it. Timothy Leary. I was thinking last night about going out to Hustler Magazine to Larry Flint's home, and I don't mean to say anything bad about Larry Flint. Honestly, I don't know that he ever got up. I don't know. In Lawrenceville, Georgia, I was doing the book, and he was shot March the 6th of, excuse me, 78 while I was doing the book. By the way, I lived at Moonraker Apartments in Marietta, and he was shot in Lawrenceville. Anyway, he was shot with a Magnum. But I was flown out there because I knew it was mind control murder done in pattern, so I'd never met him. But in October twice during the campaign, I was flown out there, and I stayed in his home in Bel Air. I met his wife, Althea, and his brother-in-law. Their last name was Ryder, and they were very nice to me. Very. The thing is, I was looking back, I can remember articles or something about Timothy Leary. And of course, that was, I think he's probably a victim in all this. I'm not sure exactly. And that's where you should really watch this program, because I think you can download it or contact them and get a video of it. Or his name's Paul Davis, Blowing Americans' Mind. They're talking about Thorazine and all these drugs that are given willy-nilly to people who are under mind control, really. Okay, the Grand Theater, James Holmes, they put him in a mental hospital, and they gave him medicine for mental illness. Total lie, and they knew it. This is what really gets me. Doctors, lawyers have not spoken out. They've committed gross acts of civil rights violations, torture. When you misdiagnose someone deliberately, and this is what's happened, give them psychotic drugs when they are not mentally ill. It's nothing associated with it. Their civil rights have been destroyed and taken away when they were being programmed. They didn't know it because it's done at such a low level and it signals. It was done, and I'll be redundant here. I know some people have seen the video and they probably get tired of me reiterating, but someone who just picks the book. Well, I wish I was able, I wouldn't be able to get it printed though, but the video up wouldn't know what I was talking about. Um, it started out when I found out about it, about using ham sets. And of course, that was back long ago. And you taught the Morse code without your knowledge, and therefore they control you, puppetry and program you. You have to be deprogrammed. You don't put you in a mental facility and lock you up and fill you full of psychotic drugs. There's nothing psychotic about it. It's the most sick thing. But if you ever hear this man talking, and I was aware of some of it, but he was on the George Norrie Coast to Coast last night, and that would be Wednesday a.m. at 1 o'clock here this time, August the 15th, 2018. It was yesterday, the 12th was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah. Okay, the thing that I had just been kind of thinking about was Timothy Leary, and I remember seeing something about him being out at Larry Flint some years ago, and Timothy Leary was a part of it, and I'm not sure he was a willing participant in the mind control. God, this was, you really should listen to that. It gave all this. I couldn't put it down. I don't have shorthand. I couldn't put it all down where to go and look it up. I do know that, let me read it from this if I got it down here right. Okay, let me mention Richard Helms, the CIA director, keeper of the secrets. He burned the files. They almost didn't find some of these files. It went before Congress. The MK Ultra did in 53, I believe. But again, and this shocked me. I didn't know it was at 77. It went before Congress in the Frank Church hearings. This is when I was doing the book. What the heck did they do about it? They dismissed it and just, that looked good to the public. They didn't even tell them. It was about mind control and the military use of mind control, military use in military application. Anyway, you don't hear anything about it. It just covered it up and people went on about their business. But Richard Helms, Keeper of the Secrets, was the book, and about him, he burned MK Ultra files on mind control and what they were doing. Princeton University and other colleges. This gets really tough to swallow here. Other colleges used in experiments and the doctors and etc. on victims that I'm not sure me were even mentally ill, and that certainly is not a reason to use someone for experiments like you eat. Well, excuse me, it upsets the hell out of me, and this is early morning, and anyway, like rats, use them like experimental rats. On some of these, I don't know if it's Princeton, but they had facilities where they kept mentally ill locked up. Not just mentally ill people that they experimented on. More so mentally ill do not have the ability to say, hey, or everybody likes to just wash their hands off them. They were buried, the graves on this facility. And there's a lot of colleges, this is what's shocking, got involved in it. They were victims of mind control. Patients tortured and died, graves, they were buried. This is my shorthand here. Timothy Leary, LSD, was at Larry Flint's years before I was out there, but I remember, and I was thinking about that last night in Hustler magazine during LSD experiments. I don't know during the experiments what he was out there. He promoted LSD. I don't promote anything that has to do drugs or whatever has to do with changing your way of thinking or ability to any of that. It's bull. Civil rights. Okay. I wouldn't know what they are really. President Jimmy Carter was governor of Georgia, and his sister, Jean Carter Stapleton, and I know I heard it. I've looked back and records have been changed even on Google, and I may be proven wrong, but she died when I was in flight, either the first or second time. The first would have been 1st of October of 83 or the 16th. That was election day, I believe. And she died. Well, I've looked back since then, and they've got a different date she died. It was in that time period. Anyway, I was told that she was her husband Stapleton. That was the N-I-N getting into Carter. Now I thought Jimmy Carter, was a nice man. I do know that my book was taken out of a bank, and I had paid it. This after I was almost killed and in the campaign and everything. My book and copies of the FBI. There was 2 letters, ongoing investigation, national security involved, and a lot of stuff in that, certificates in that bank deposit. No matter how hard it was, this was in '85. I paid the rent, box rent. Well, I got a notice, and they didn't even send my money back. They said that it was taken out for safekeeping. I don't know where it went. Burt Lance was part of Jimmy Carter's counsel and White House counsel, and he was under investigation himself. He owned banks, and I'm not sure his bank. Well, I better not say that. I'm not sure what the name of the banks were, but he was into trucking and that. Okay. And Larry Flint was the one that you get into all this in the global government. He was the one that promoted, sent Reverend Andrew Young as ambassador, U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, which came to be after they took down my father Edward VIII, because he wouldn't follow the Illuminati or global government's orders. They put in Elizabeth's father because he would. They kidnapped me, and I'm the real monarch, and I put all this up the minute I was born. So they tied my father's hands and my mom. They basically stripped him naked, put a phony up there saying he was Edward VIII that married Wallace Simpson in '37, the same year the Illuminati, the Freemasons, installed illegal George VI, and the double, the imposter, married Wallace Simpson and became the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, illegal. He died in '72, was buried at Frogmore, Windsor. My father and mother were still married, alive, and together. As bad as it was for them, because they tied up the O'Keeffes. Some of the O'Keeffes were killed in this. Anyway, my mom's Claudia Ruth O'Keeffe, sister to artist George O'Keeffe, and she was queen and should have remained, just like my father should have remained king. They stole it with character assassination and literally just wiped him off the map, and then kidnapped me, they did. But Jimmy Carter, I thought, was a good man. And let me say this. They could have had him tied up, but he was so in with Atlanta and Martin Luther King, who partnered with JFK, who helped kidnap me, he and his father. His father was ambassador sent by Roosevelt, part of the whole mess. They partnered. The whole thing was to take down the British Empire, South Africa, and all that. And so Andrew Young was made ambassador to the UN, and he traveled down there all to South Africa and all of it. And he was in Atlanta when they almost killed me April Fool Day. He became mayor, and he knew all about it. So all of them did there. The Atlanta, everybody. Media, law enforcement, all of it. Okay, so Jimmy Carter, though, when they are not president anymore, they can be compromised. I don't know that Jimmy Carter was, but I always thought he was a good man, but I think he became a part of the Freemasons, the global government. By the way, Lionel Dempsey, who was mother of the twins, she went to meetings, and I didn't know she was that I'd been kidnapped at that time. I couldn't remember that until after I was told, and I remembered a lot. But she would go to the meetings, and she had pictures put up of women of the Revolutionary Army, and that's take down of the British government, and then they kidnapped me. That was a feather in their cap, and took my father down and my mom, who's an American, by the way. Now Meghan Markle's up there, and they nothing against Meghan. It's the whole facade, and they've gotten away with it and just ignored me, put me over in hell, and everybody admires Elizabeth. Well, not everybody, but let me get on to this before you just tape up. Okay, I was talking about the LSD, and Timothy Leary had been out at Flint's for a while, but so was Gene Stapleton Carter, and anyway, when I got the letter, I'd done the book, moved up from Moonraker in May the 8th of 79, got the letter from the FBI, I got two, ongoing investigation, national security involved. That's what they were after in the safety deposit box, other than the book, copies of those letters. Although I gave them to ABC, LaSalle Street in D.C., I took the wrong thing. I'm trying to laugh again. I hope the world sees what happened. I turned the book, the letters from the FBI, and I put a copy of the letter from the FBI in the book. I pasted it on front of the book in the other papers, rejection slips and where it went before reveal. Took it to the White House. I'm walking with all this. I have no money. This is in '82. Michael Reagan, his adopted son, was the one that came in the executive mailroom there next to the White House. I logged it in. It's a great big book. You have to log everything in. And he had it on his lapel, his name. And I hope the world sees what happened to me when I came out and tried to get back to Atlanta and a place to be and find my kids, and then what happened to me. It's a horror story. Now, this is one thing I did want to get a point made. I had the letter from the FBI, and it was June the 23rd, my dad's birthday, by the way, of 79. I was living at Laurelwood, had moved up a couple blocks up from Moonraker and Journey's Inn restaurant. It was a complex. The one nice place I lived. It was beautiful. It was horrible what happened there, but ongoing. Anyway, after actually went down to, I was down to FBI headquarters a lot, and my husband was with me at times, and they had this investigation, and I thought it was because of the book. But anyway, the phone had been tapped. Back then, it was different than the phones we have now. And, it was obvious it was tapped and had the names and everybody. It had L.C. Phillips and his, I believe it was his sister Boots, Ruby Phillips, right in the backyard out in Marietta at Moonraker, and they weren't even supposed to be out there. They're Fulton County. This is Southern Belle. They had a DeKalb County, a Cobb County, and a Fulton County, right in my little corner, where the Burns Detective Agency I hired, and that I put this up. I couldn't hire anybody that'd get to them. He told me that if they had a tap on my phone, it would be out in that behind Moonraker Apartments. And how about this? I went out there that day, actually saw the 3 trucks and Ruby Phillips right there at it. Okay. Oh, and I remember